Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the channel. If you like my videos, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, I really don't care. So I'm not getting paid from this, I just do it for fun. So do whatever you want. If you watched my last video, you'll have seen that I built a new garage, and I'm in the new garage. However, I have about 10 by 10 square in the front of the garage to work in. So there's really not enough room to work on a whole car, so I've got a couple seats out of a car. In front of me is a pair of seats out of a 2017 Lincoln Continental Black Label, and I'm going to turn these into furniture for my new media room. And I've done this before. About 10 years ago, I took the front seats out of a Chrysler 300M. I built some frames, wired them up, and I had those in the pool table room in my old house. But being pretty much the first project where I was learning how to weld and do some wiring and stuff like that, it looked okay, it served its purpose, but I figured it's time to kind of class it up a little bit. It's a new house, new media room, so I wanted something a little bit nicer. And I found these online. I've been looking for a couple months to try to find some seats that would fit the bill. I wanted something that looked expensive, but wasn't expensive. Something that looked kind of sporty, but also luxurious. And I looked at BMW M seats, Mercedes AMG seats, Audi RS seats, and they really didn't look that good to me. They looked kind of bland, but they were also tremendously expensive. And I wasn't going to spend thousands of dollars on a set of seats that are going to be sat in maybe 100 times. The next thing I thought of were seats out of a Volvo, so like the new Volvos. But those are relatively new, and looking online I couldn't find any used ones. And then I happened to be at the Ford dealer having some service done, and I remembered the seats out of the Lincolns, the new perfect position seats. So I initially thought a Navigator, because there's a lot of those on the road, so I figured there would be a good selection. And there is a good selection of them, but they, like the German seats, are outrageously expensive. I found a set of seats local. They were out of a 2019 Navigator. They were a really nice saddle brown color, and the salvage yard wanted $1,800 per seat. And there's no way in hell I was going to spend that kind of money for this project. So then I started looking for aviator seats. And those are pretty new, so I could only find like a seat back or a seat bottom, not a complete seat. And then I thought, well, the Continentals, those have the perfect position seats too. And surprisingly, there's a really good selection of Continental seats, and they're extremely cheap. So where the Navigator seats were $1,800, these were $225 a piece. And at least these two are pretty much in like new condition. I scrubbed them up already, and there's hardly any creases in them. There's no tears. There's really no wear on them. And along with looking great, they're extremely comfortable. So when I come in the garage, sometimes I'll just sit on them and feel like I want to take a nap. So the passenger seat is pretty straight up, but the driver's seat is in a pretty comfortable position. And yeah, you could kind of just sit here and take a nap in this one the way it is. It's extremely comfortable seats, and once they're up at chair height, it'll definitely be a lot better. So let's take a little closer look at the seats. So these seats are 24-way power, heated, cooled. There's no massage, but they do have basic lumbar. And if we take a look at the seats a little bit closer, looking at kind of the design itself, so I wasn't aware until I saw these seats in person that the Black Label seats actually have micro suede in the center. And we've got some nice ornamental stitching around here, and this is a microfiber color coordinating piping strip that runs around all of the seat. So it's a pretty nice quality seat. The design is good, the materials are good. You've got a nice embroidered Lincoln emblem in the headrest. And if we step around the back side, you've got nice chrome accents around the back of the seat. The back of the seat is a soft touch cover. So they're really nice seats, really well done. And as you can see, this seat has a deployed airbag from the accident, but I don't need the airbags. I'm going to take them out anyway, which kind of leads me to another point, which is really good about these seats. To get a cheap seat, sometimes you have to get one that has a deployed airbag. And what's nice about these seats, the airbag comes out of the back cover. And when it does it, when it deploys, all it does is unclip the cover and the airbag comes out. So like most seats, there's a tear seam in the side, and when the airbag deploys, it rips open the side of the seat. So this one, all I have to do is unclip the back cover and take it off, take the airbag out, and then I can clip the back cover back on, and you'll never know that there was an airbag deployment or that an airbag was in there. So now building the frames for these seats is the easy part. So being a mechanical engineer, I can make the frames, I can build those, that's no problem, but electrical is not my strong suit. So figuring out how to control these seats is going to be a bit of a challenge. Now I went ahead and already purchased the seat controllers that mount on the door. So I've got these, and so the power motions, we've got the headrest, it goes up, down, forward and back. The top half of the seats, so this part of the seat from here up, that reclines forward and back. And then this one operates the whole seat back up and down. And then you have the normal forward back, and then the rear up, down, the front up, down, and the whole seat up, down. And then these two rockers at the bottom do the left bolster and the right bolster, and those move out and up. And then this is for the basic lumbar. Now I pulled some wire diagrams for the seats, and it's kind of a mess. So unlike an older seat, which let me jump over to my test seat here. So my neighbor was throwing out this seat for a Mercedes ML, and I'm using it as kind of a test bed for figuring out some electrical stuff. So on seats that have the seat controller mounted to the side, there's really a pinout for everything. So it directly goes from the switch to some wires and directly to the motor. And these are super easy to get power control to them. So if you put 12 volts to these two pins, the seat moves, no issues. So from looking at the wire diagram that I have, it appears there's only one wire that connects this switch cluster to the seat, and it's operating over a LIN bus system. So the controller here sends a coded signal to the seat control module, and then the seat control module decodes it and moves whatever motor you're asking to move. Now, I don't know yet if this is standalone enough that I can just give it power and run a wire on the LIN bus pin to the LIN bus pin on the bottom of the seat and it'll work, because there's also a couple pins in here for the CAN system from the car, which is coming from another module, and a bunch of other pins, which I haven't really looked into yet. So I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to integrate the factory controller into controlling the seat. So I may have to actually go in and have different switches running each motor directly, which I really don't want to do. I'd like to have the factory cluster operating the seat, but that may not be possible depending on my electrical skills, and my neighbor is an electrical engineer, what he can figure out too. And then if we can't figure it out, my current boss used to work at Ford Corporate, so he knows some people in the seating group, and maybe I can get some information out of them. We'll see. Now that I've talked about controlling the power movements on the seats, let's go back to my test seat and talk about how to control the heat and the cooling. So in the Lincoln system, the heat and the cooling is controlled by the infotainment system, and there's no way I'm going to be able to replicate that. So I'm just going to bypass the controllers under the seat entirely, and I'm using this seat here to test out a universal heating kit from Amazon. So it's just a Dorman universal kit, $40 a seat, pretty cheap. So really all I wanted was the controller and the switch. So it's just a simple rocker switch, high-low, and it goes to a relay. On low, I think it's running 1.5 amps, and on high, it's 3.5 or 4.5, something like that. So this seat was already a heated seat, so I didn't have to add the pads to it. So I traced down the wires, and these two run to the seat back, and these two run to the seat bottom. So all I did, I came into the wire harness here for the seat controller, removed the plugs, and just added some alligator clips to the seat back and the seat bottom wires, and then alligator clipped those to the seat, and just powered it from here to my DC power supply, and kicked it on, and the seat back and the seat bottom both warmed up. So I think this will be the easiest solution for the heated seats, and I can probably do something similar to this with the cooled seats too. I looked on eBay and on Amazon, and there's a couple Chinese kits that they send you like 5 small computer blowers and like a switch similar to this with a relay. So hopefully I can use the relay and the switch from those kits and wire that into the factory blower motors. But I'm not sure. I'll have to figure out how much power the factory motors use to see if that controller will handle it. Seeing how the cars run on 12 volts, and I'm going to be plugging these into a wall at 120 volts, I've got a AC to DC power supply. So this one is 30 amp DC rated. So it's got just some screw terminals here. So the 3 over here are your input from AC power, and then you've got looks like 3 outputs for DC power. So I can just attach this under the seat, and for the Mercedes seat I just need one. It can handle everything there. For the Lincoln seats, I'm not sure, because each motor, I've done a little bit of load testing on it, and each motor in the seat runs at most 3 amps. And if somebody's playing around with it and they've got several of the motors running and it's pulling high amperage because it's under load, and you've got the heated seat running and you've got the blowers running, it could overwhelm one of those power supplies. So I may run the heated and cooled seats on one and then the motors on a second one. So we'll see. I'll have to get my electrical engineer friend involved with that to see if we can make sure we size it correctly. So make sure you like and subscribe to keep up on this project, and stay tuned.